Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gay Men Going Deeper. This is a podcast series from the Gay Men's Brotherhood where we talk about personal development, mental health, and sexuality. Your hosts today are the fabulous three of Matt, Calan, and myself, Michael. And today, guys, we are celebrating our gayness today. So, at the time of recording, it is, and release, it'll be Pride Month. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I'll say that, as I was thinking about this topic this morning, a lot came up for me. And, it kind of went in through my journey of how there was certainly a time where I didn't always love being gay versus where I am now, where, people would describe me as a glitter junkie scene queen. And it has been a very long ride to get there. So I will say this, today I love being gay and I wouldn't trade it in for anything in the world. If God could tell me, hey, listen, Michael, we're gonna go back, but you have a choice, I would still choose this life. But as I said, that wasn't always the case. So I have a lot of reasons why I love being gay, but I think it's very important that I acknowledge two very important points first. So the first thing is that my journey to get here certainly was not easy, and this was not always the case. I did not wake up at the age of 12, 13 and realize, yeah, I love this. I thought it was the worst thing in the world. And in fact, you guys know I love journaling. And so when I look back to my journals, thank God I kept them. At the age of about 13 or 14 is my very first entries about being gay, but I didn't call it being gay. I called it something else because I was so afraid to even acknowledge the word. And if I read those back, they talked a lot about having this fear of getting AIDS. But again, I didn't call it AIDS because I was so afraid of talking about it. So I grew up, I guess, this was happening in the early to mid 90s. I guess that was the age. So I didn't have a lot. Like I went to Catholic school. There wasn't a lot in pop culture. And so I thought this was the worst thing in the world. I thought that God was going to punish me. I went to Catholic school, all that stuff that I'm sure a lot of you guys can resonate with. And so for me, it was the worst thing. And I had no one to turn to. And I learned to hide that part of myself and hate that part of myself. I wanted anything. I begged God to change me. Please change who I am. I don't want this. I don't want to be this way. But as I went through puberty and got older, it just obviously became more and more prevalent to me. So I have had quite the journey to get to where I am today. The second thing I want to point out is that I realized that for someone like me, I live in Canada. I live in Toronto, which is the biggest city in Canada. I'm a white cis male. I'm able-bodied. I am middle class. I grew up with an education. And so I know that my journey from shame to pride, while it did have its challenges, the color of my skin was never one of them. And I think it's very important that I acknowledge that. Because yes, I had my journey and my struggle, but for some people, being gay is its own struggle. And then on top of that, being a person of color or being in the minority of some way, like on top of the gayness, adds a whole other level of struggle. So those are 2 points that I wanted to acknowledge. But for anyone out there who is listening or watching us, as it is Pride Month, I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And while I might be the guy out there on the front of that parade, covered in glitter, half naked, dancing to disco, that doesn't mean that is the only way to celebrate Pride. That is my preferred way, and I love it. So don't hate me for it, but also you get to celebrate Pride the way it works for you. And I think even for people who aren't out, I want to say that Pride is for you too. There's a lot of reasons why people don't come out yet, right? So it could be unsafe. They could live in a country where it's very unsafe. They have their reasons. Even if you do live in a country where it's safe, you could have your reasons for not wanting to come out, and that's okay. So I think as we celebrate Pride, the way that I've kind of distilled Pride down to, for me, is simply celebrating who you are, regardless of how you identify and what that means to you. As I was thinking about my own journey, the way that I celebrate it is, yes, a little bit loud, a little bit proud, a little bit obnoxious at times, but it's what works for me. So, I would encourage everyone out there to find out who you are, right? And that's what Gay Men's Brotherhood is all about, that journey from shame to authenticity. And then eventually you can get to the point where you can celebrate that. So that's my 2 cents. I would love to see a world where we could all allow each other to be who we are and then celebrate each other for who we are, instead of being instead of using our uniqueness to divide us as a way to get us closer together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me.
Yes, I love that. So I'm gonna start off with saying I fucking love being gay and I love pride, but like as well with Michael, it took a while to get here. Yes, pride shirt. I also just want to do a quick sidestep and remind everybody that next month in August, we will be launching our full launch of the Gay Men Going Deeper membership coaching community. We're doing our beta right now. It's going amazingly. The guys are loving it. So if you're curious about that and you're interested, just go into the show notes and you can sign up for our wait list so we can let you know as soon as the doors open. But you got to get on the wait list to do that. So sorry about that little quick sidestep. We'll jump back into being super duper gay. So I love being gay. And I love Pride. I remember going to my first Pride when I was 19. I was freshly out and I was working at Starbucks, of course. And Sarah, I won't say her last name, but Sarah, I love her, was a lesbian that I worked with. Super duper cute, like very like lipstick lesbian. I just adored her. She was an Aquarius as well. And so we got on just like mentally, like it was like we had like mental mind sex all the time because we just loved each other. And so she took me to my first Pride. And I remember I was walking down, I think I was on Davie Street, and I was walking down towards the bay. And because it turns the corner right there, and it's like right next to the boathouse right there. And I remember getting there and there's people in the way, but I remember seeing the parade because we were a little bit late. And I remember being like, this is amazing. I was like, these are like people like me. Like this is like, I mean, like we're not all going to be the same and we're all going to celebrate differently, but like this is my peeps. And so that was like my first experience. I was like, this is amazing. And we didn't do anything crazy. We just partied on the beach with other people. We just danced. We had fun. Like Sarah wasn't really a big party person, but just like being in and amongst my community, being like, I feel safe here. Like for the first time, even like going out to the clubs or whatever, for the first time, I really felt just like safe. I was like, this is a large group of people. Everybody's here to support me, whether they know me or not, whether they're straight or not, whether they're like LGBTQIA plus or not. Everybody is here for the same reason, and that is just for love and support. And that was the most important thing for me. Like, yes, people go to party and do like, all the other things that come along with Pride that some people don't love. But at the end of the day, for me, it's a celebration of love. It's just like people coming to support that celebration of love, people coming to say that, yes, your love is valid and that you belong and that you can be here if you want to. And one of the reasons that I celebrate Pride now is it's grown and it's evolved. But now, after living in the Middle East for 5 years and living in a country where it was illegal to be gay and like I couldn't hold hands in public, I couldn't kiss in public, I couldn't do like I had to hide my life, and to be surrounded by that and to have traveled to many countries in Africa and Asia and all over the world where gay is still discriminated against, where it's still illegal, where you can still be jailed or sentenced to death. Um, it's taken on a new meaning for me. So pride for me now is important for me to celebrate, to show up, because it's not just about me. It's about showing those people in those countries that there are people in the world who love you. There are people in the world who can help validate you. Not that you need validation, but to show you that you're not alone, even though you might be in the Middle East and you might be living in fear and hiding. You can still see those pride parades all around the world in those countries that were allowed to have them, and you can be like, well, I know one day that I'll be able to go to one of those, or hopefully one day you will be able to go to one of those, and hopefully one day your country will come to that space where it finally recognizes that love is just love and it's a celebration of love. And so for me, that's why I celebrate, because there's people I've worked with, there's people that I know who live in these countries who message me, who are like, we talk about how they're like, one day I hope I can come to Canada so that I can know what it's like to live without fear and to just live in a place where people love me and support me. And a big, part of that is pride. And for me, that's the biggest aspect that I think of when I think about pride. Like, yes, there's a big parade. Yes, it's a party. People get drunk. There's drugs. There's all these things that go in it. But that's because each individual deserves to celebrate however they want to. I don't have any right to judge or tell somebody else how to celebrate. But for me, and my representation of it is me showing up is telling those people all around the world that it's like, yep, we're not going anywhere. We're here. We're just as valid as everybody else. And hopefully one day you'll be able to come and join us as well, or, you know, host your own pride parade. So that's probably the most important aspect of pride for me, is that visibility. Even though we live in, you know, our North American bubble, and like the Western cultures kind of live in their own bubble now, and people are like, why do we even need pride? Why do we need safe spaces? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we can integrate. And it's not about us. It's not about that. It's about the other people on the other side that we see who are struggling. And it's us saying we need to keep showing up, and representation is important, as like in the media, because there are still places in the world today where you can be killed, honor killing, like just because you're gay. Like, I know in Saudi Arabia, they can honor kill you, which means your family, your siblings, whoever wants to, if they found out you were gay, they can literally kill you and not go to jail because it's allowed. So that's why it's so important for me, and pride is so important for me to show up, because of those things, because I just need to let those people know that, hey, that in this small way, this is me saying that, like, I'm here whenever you're ready or whenever you can join. I'll welcome you in. And I hope that one day you can get here with us as well. I love pride. It makes me so fucking happy, and I've missed it so much in pandemic. This whole pandemic, I moved back to Toronto from the Middle East the day before Toronto Pride in 2019, and I planned it like that for a reason, because I had missed so many prides for so many years, and like, it was like I needed it, and it was kind of like my kickoff to living in Toronto and being like, yes, I'm gay, I'm free, I could hold hands walking down the street, I could kiss my boyfriend, I can be who I want to be, I can be in my supportive community. And like, it was just the best way to welcome me back to the city. And I'm so looking forward to when we can start celebrating again, and just celebrating that love and that joy. So yeah, that's my big. Oh, and also we need to recognize and celebrate, this today, our 1 year was, you know, this month for the Gay Men's Brotherhood. And so we're also celebrating. That's why community is our big thing this month, is because it's our 1 year of being around. And like, who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I second so much of what you guys said. Yeah, like Michael, I want to just kind of echo what you said around the privilege and how much privilege we have. And privilege is an interesting thing, right? When you look at color of skin, you look at the nation which you live in, there's so much privilege that we all need to look at our privilege and honor. And like, really, this is a time to be very obviously proud of the fact that we live in a country where something like this can be celebrated, and we can march up and down the streets and be activists for our authenticity, I think is huge. And to your first point, Michael, I also echo that. Like, I have my relationship with my sexuality has been a very tumultuous one. And I think it's just in the last year, to be honest, that I've been able to feel very confident and in being authentic, because that's not just about my gayness, it's about everything that encompasses that. And I think for me, there was a lot of inauthenticity in my journey of finding a connection to my sexuality and being gay, because I think I bought into the fact that in order to be proud of being gay, I had to march in parades, or I had to wear glitter, or I had to go to the bars and get drunk, or I had to do all these things. And I tried to live that, and it was very inauthentic to who I am. And so for me, celebrating my gayness is really just expanding my definition of what it means to be a gay man, and how I don't have to live up to the stereotypes that we see in gay culture around what it means to be gay. And I can be equally as included and inclusive, and just truly celebrating, like, we have a gay community, but we have so much multidimensionalism within that community and diversity. Like, being a gay man does not, it's going to be so different for every single person listening to this podcast. What does that mean to you? Are you the march and the pride parade guy, or are you the stay at home and watch Netflix like guy? Like, it doesn't really matter. You can celebrate pride and being gay in your own way. And I think once I've had this realization, and I've been really honoring that part of myself, it's like there's this part of me that just was like, just, I don't know, just feeling really, really confident in being a gay man, and being able to really dive into what it is that I love about being gay. But I think because the social conditioning around being a gay man, it tells us that the stereotypes of a gay man is so ingrained in us that we have to be a certain way, that I think what makes me really proud to be a gay man is the fact that we all, and I think this is where most of us can relate, we all start our life path with a lot of struggle. And it's from this struggle that a lot of us develop our depth. And I think as gay men start to connect with their authentic nature and develop confidence and self-acceptance, I think we have such a capacity to connect so deeply, because we have a strong sense of self-awareness, because we have had to go through living inauthentically and not being our true self, that when we do break through and we find that, it's like such a beautiful thing. And like, I'm just really tasting that now, like for the first time in my life. And I think the Brotherhood is such a representation of that for me. Is it's like, we've created this pocket within the gay community that is more me. It's more who I am, you know what I mean? And what I want from the gay community. A lot of people who are walking path as myself, and breaking down some of the social conditioning about what it means to be gay. And actually, I wanted to read a quote from Eckhart Tolle, because I found it when I was reading this book. This is one of my favorite books, and Eckhart Tolle is definitely one of my favorite authors. But in this book, it says, in the quest for enlightenment, is being gay a help or a hindrance, or does it not make any difference? And he says, as you approach adulthood, uncertainty about your sexuality, followed by the realization that you are different from others, may force you to disidentify from socially conditioned patterns of thought and behavior. This will automatically raise your level of consciousness above that of the unconscious majority, whose members unquestioningly take on board all inherited patterns. In that respect, being gay can be a help. Being an outsider to some extent, someone who does not fit in with others or is rejected by them for whatever reason, makes life difficult, but it also places you at an advantage as far as enlightenment is concerned. It takes you out of unconsciousness almost by force. On the other hand, if you develop a sense of identity based on your gayness, you have escaped one trap only to fall into another. You will play roles and games dictated by a mental image you have of yourself as gay. You will become unconscious. You will become unreal. Underneath your ego mask, you will become very unhappy. If this happens to you, being gay will have become a hindrance. But you always get another chance, of course. Acute unhappiness can be a great awakener. And that quote, I read that for the very first time. I think I read that book when I was like 25 or something like that, like quite a few years ago. And that's probably my favorite thing about being a gay man, is we go through struggle, but we are set up for success, because we are set up to not buy into the bullshit social conditioning that the patriarchy, or whatever you want to call it, the dominator system, is trying to hand down to people. we break free from that, and we're like, no, we're not going to fall into traditional marriage values. We're not going to fall into this. We're not going to fall into that. So we have this, we have almost as gay people, we have this defiance, and it allows us to more easily tap into our authentic nature if we don't fall into the trap of then being like, I'm gay and I'm this and I'm that, and like creating our personas based off of our gayness. Just allowing ourselves to just be authentic, be whoever the hell you want to be, whether that's gay, identifying as this, or whatever. Just really honor whatever it is for you. So I think that would be my favorite thing about being a gay man. We're set up for success.
Love it. I think that's a solid point. And I mean, last time I spoke about in our last podcast, whatever that was, I spoke about how, for me as well, I would say our history. So, you know, we are set up for success also from people who've come before us, who have survived so much for us to be here now, being able to do this podcast, to start a community, like, and you know, to Calan's point earlier, there's places where today in 2021 in countries that you can't even have Grindr, you can't even say that out loud. So, you know, yes, we have grown from our challenge. I think as I look at the LGBT community, all of us, not just the gays, we have come so far. And yes, we still have work to do, especially for our trans people out there. Like, we have a lot of work to do on our BIPOC people out there as well. Like, there's still so much to be done. So the work isn't finished, but we can learn a lot from where we were even just 50, 40, 30 years ago, right? Like I said at the beginning, the only thing I knew about being gay when I was a little boy was that gay people get AIDS. That's it. That's it. And maybe Boy George. That was it. And I did not identify with him at all. So I was like, well, then who the fuck am I? Like, I'm screwed, right? So it is definitely a very hard. I would love to go back to I would love to go back to the young boy, like as if we're in RuPaul's Drag Race now, and tell him that it's going to be okay. That, you know, like, I wish I knew that you, Matt, and Calan existed, that all my friends existed. Like, I felt so alone then. And so when it comes to celebrating, like, yes, I do love to drink and dance and have a good time, of course. But when people ask me, why are you celebrating? I would just point to my journey. Like, listen, there was a time I hated myself more than anyone could ever hate me. Like, people throw their hate at me, I'm like, that's fine. You know why? Because I hated myself more than you could ever hate me. And I have come out of that in such a important way. And, you know, I think for the Gay Men's Brotherhood, what my goal is personally is to help people on their own journey. Like, yes, not everyone's going to be on my journey, and that's fine. But I think we can all help people along their own journeys. Like, we're all helping each other walk this road.
Yes, I love that. And I love the intergenerationalness that the gay community, LGBTQ plus community has. And I think because, yes, in the little bubble we have in North America and Western cultures, we, you know, the younger generations don't really know those struggles. And so much has happened so quickly in such a small amount of time that we have, you know, our older generation who lived in a very different time than the younger generation now. And I'm thinking of like examples of like, you know, when you're going out, and if you go out to the bars, the clubs and stuff, and, you know, maybe you see an older guy who's like much older and he's like dancing with his shirt off and having a party. And, you know, some of the younger kids are like, oh, I don't want to see that. Or, oh, what, like, you know, haven't they aged out? And like this kind of like, you know, once you get to a certain age, you age out. And it just kind of makes me take a step back and think and go, you know what? He might have just came out. This might be the first time he's literally allowed to experience his life as a gay man in a space where there is other gay men, where he can take off his shirt and he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. And instead of judging that person, you know, love that person, be like, I love that for you. I love that you can go and dance with your shirt off and be you, because that's what I want in this community. And when you judge other people, you're really just judging yourself. When I see people dancing with their shirts off, doing whatever, I'm all, you do you, Glen Coco, because like, that's me showing love and the support. Because when you're judging that, it's like, okay, well, what are you judging about yourself that you're seeing in this other person? Because if you didn't see something in that other person that didn't hit a chord with you, there would be no judgment, because you wouldn't care. It wouldn't trigger something. So when those triggers come up, look inside yourself, go, okay, well, why is this bugging me? Why is this triggering me? What's going on here? But like, it's one of those things that in the gay community, we have that, but like, you don't really get to see that in the heteronormative community. Like maybe once in a blue moon, grandpa gets a little bit wild at a party or something like that. But like in the gay community, people still go out. We still have fun. We still get to live that life. And like, I love that about our community. And I wish, and I'm like working towards building bridges and closing those gaps of like the younger generation that like is benefiting from what the older generation went through. And so learning to love that and learning those stories. I think the podcast you did, Michael, about the history of, you know, the gay community is so important because, you know, people need to know this information, because if we forget those things, then it's like, okay, well, you know, what are we doing over here? We need to remember where we came from so that we can be like, yes, thank you for doing what you did. You dance with your shirt off. You live your best life, because I know you went through some shit that I never will have to go through because you went through it. So I love that aspect of the community as well, the intergenerationalness. And I think there needs to be maybe, I don't know, more programs or how to even put this together, or how this even like to put into words, but like more spaces where we can come together, where it's not just like, you know, young hot toddies over here and then like older guys over there. It's like different spaces. And I think for me, that's what Pride kind of allows to happen a little bit more than on the normal average. You know, older guys usually go to this bar and younger guys usually go to this one, but during Pride, everybody's kind of all over the place, and it allows people to live in the energy. And so I think maybe that's also why I really enjoy it a lot, because, you know, you don't have to go to the parties. You can just walk down the street and you just meet so many amazing people. And then even throw in like family prides, where it's like, you know, the gay dads, the gay moms, the everybody in between, where it's just like they're celebrating in their own way too, and they're passing on this, you know, love to the next generation in their own way. And I think it's really beautiful to be able to experience all those different things. And if as a community we could, you know, have a little bit more love and compassion and less judgment, then, you know, we would all enjoy a little bit more. It's like, Matt, what you were saying, how it's like you didn't fit into the boxes you thought you were supposed to fit into. And so then there was maybe like a bit of a push away. But then once you realize that it was like, oh, I don't need to do it this way and that way. I can do Pride sitting on my couch and doing whatever I want. But living your just true authentic life is living out, like living proudly. Like that's what it is. And we can all do it our own different ways, but I don't think we should judge anybody for doing it their own specific way. Everybody's journey is their own journey, and they're allowed to have it whatever way that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like the whole idea of it's kind of like anything goes. Like there's just this feeling of like anything goes within the gay community, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like, I think gay people have been pioneers, like I said, from that place of defiance of making things different and diverse and not having to buy into that. But and again, there's two sides to that though, because it's like then some people who aren't that way, they're not defiant, they feel like they have to fit into this. So it's like, again, step back and just really root into what feels good for you. Like, how do you want to celebrate your gayness? I think that is such a important way to frame this. And like I actually struggled coming up with things to talk about for this podcast, to be honest, because I was falling into the old social programming of like, I have to like this and I have to like that and I have to like, you know, and then I was like, why am I putting all this pressure on myself? And like, I've done so much work in this area to like unpack this, and it still creeps up on me, you know what I mean? And that's how deep our conditioning runs. And you know, I run workshops with men and women who are highly sensitive, and one of the biggest barriers for a lot of straight men is just even the using the word sensitive to describe themselves, because they apply feminine connotation to that. And I think as gay people, we have that advantage because we're already seen as like, however you want to describe it, like being gay is the thing that, oh, like all straight guys don't want to be seen as, but we're already seen as that. So it's like, okay, cool. You want to think I'm feminine, you want to think I'm sensitive, like it's all good, right? Because we've already kind of shed the fear of someone seeing us as feminine. So it's like, okay, cool. So again, that puts us at an advantage, because the feminine nature, whether you want to look at it as gender and biology, or you want to look at it as sociology, or you want to look at it as energy, doesn't matter. It's all a lot more fluid in the gay community. And I really like that, because like, as I'm learning to embrace and embody my feminine energy, it feels safer to do it in the presence of other gay men, for the most part, I think, than it would, say, straight men, right? Because there's that shame and that internalized, what would it even be?
Well, it's like I was gonna say, it's like how we equate femininity to negative. Like that's basically, being a female is already like being negative. Being gay is being negative because it's feminine, and femininity is negative, which is complete bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of like, for example, like if I'm doing something like really feminine, or doing something like a movement, or I say something and I get excited, I'll notice certain guys will react to that. And even if it's just energetic reaction, I can feel their body tense up or something. That tells me that there's something in them that has not been integrated around their feminine expressions, because we all have feminine and negative, or feminine and masculine traits even, but energy more specifically. So when I feel that rise up, it's like, and then it makes me feel like I got to hide that part of me, or at least it has in the past. It's still alive for sure, but as I'm moving through this more, and practicing it with my gay brothers, being more feminine, being more exciting, like that, it's making it easier for me to just do that across the board with all people. Yeah. And what the last thing I'll say in this share is, like, I just really think it's cool to have like the true idea of a brotherhood, because like I grew up with a sister and I love her to death, but I always kind of wish I had a brother as well, because that there's something really special about male bonding, and being gay, it gives me a lot of access to that brotherhood feeling. And yeah, it's really special. And I think I wrote a blog on this topic, the 5 things that I love about being gay, and one of them was that you get to fall in love with your best friend. And it's true, because like, if you think about it, most of us as men, we grew up with another guy that's our best friend, like, you know, and maybe as we get older, we have girls that are best friends, but and like falling in love with a man, it's, I don't know, there's just something really cool about that, because like, I don't know what it is. It's like I'm very like I don't even want to categorize this as masculine, but I love to do like masculine things, like innately. Like I love like throwing a football, and I love like, you know, being on the river, and like all these like just really like adventurous type things. And like knowing that I can do that with another man that I'm falling in love with, it's just something really special.
Also, men feel great. So
oh my God. It's been a long time since I've been with one. So could y'all just
sorry, Cal.
The pandemic struggle's been real.
Yeah.
But I think on the topic of sex and shame, I think for me that has been one of my biggest, I guess I'm gonna call it a byproduct of coming to terms and holding on to that shame and that internalized homophobia in my younger years, even right up, like, let's not lie, like right up until my 30s even, I still had a lot of it. And I'm so sensitive now to when I feel ashamed that I almost do a complete swing, and I'm like, no, I'm not going in this box. You're not going to give me that label. This is what I like. And I'm very out and loud about it. But what I notice though, is that tends to trigger a lot of people who maybe have not done their own work on their own relationship with sex. So if you look at Pride, one of the biggest complaints from people is that, oh, it's just this big, you know, people walking around naked and they're just showing off, blah, 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 blah. But it, for me, is about sexual liberation and being free to want what you want without being ashamed of it. and being free to express that, like express yourself, right? Like that's one of my favorite quotes is express yourself, don't repress yourself. I repressed myself for so long that anytime I feel a hint of being repressed, I throw open, I'm like, no, I will not be repressed. And so I am like, I will admit that I am a little bit extra sensitive to it in terms of that sexuality piece, because I think that we all deserve to have amazing sex. I don't care what you are into, what gender, what sex, like we all deserve to have that intimacy, that sex, whether it's kinky stuff or more traditional stuff. Like we all deserve to have the best sex. And one thing I will say about, being part of the LGBTQ plus community is I think all of us, all of the acronyms have always fought for that right to say, hey, this is what I enjoy, and I will not be put into a box to say I need to have this kind of sex.
I love so much of what you guys just said, and I have 2 points. So the first one to go along with what you were saying, Michael, is when you were talking, I was thinking like those people who judge from the distance, being like, oh, pride and over sexualized and all of this. It's really easy to judge from afar. It's really easy to stand far away, to protect yourself with that wall, to say, oh, I'm not like them, I'm not part of that. But when you come face to face with it, when you get to up close and you look at each individual person's eyes in that parade, when you're at the parade, when you talk to the people next to you, when you look at the people in the eye who are walking the parade, when you ask them what their stories are, each and every single one of those people is a human being. They have a story, they have a struggle, every single one of us. So when people stand at a distance and make all these passing judgments, it's because the pride parade is bringing up that shit in them, that they're like, there's something going on in them that they're like, I wish I was proud enough that I could be not necessarily walking the pride parade, but just to be my authentic self. I wish that I could have that energy. And they might not know that, they might not understand that, it might not resonate on that level for them, but it was like I was saying before, something doesn't poke you unless it's because there's stuff going on inside. If there wasn't stuff going on inside around it, you'd be like, yeah, I don't go to the pride parade. It is what it is. But do you, be you, enjoy you, love your life, express it how you need to express it, as long as it's not detrimental to other people physically, kind of a thing. So that's what I say to people who it's like they judge from the distance. It's like, yeah, it's easy to judge from afar. That's why social media is rampant with Judge Judy's and keyboard warriors, because if you're over here being like, la, 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 like, you can say whatever the crap you want, but if you come face to face with somebody, I can bet you 9 times out of 10, those same people won't say that to your eyes, to your face, if they're looking at you, because then they're like, oh shit, this is a real human being I'm dealing with. And so that social interaction is really important part. And Matt, I had a point about what you were talking about, but it completely fell out. What were you just talking about before?
Oh God, I don't even know what I talk about.
I know. I had it. It was so good.
He was talking about shame and
being masculinity. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So I love that, because it's like, well, what is being gay? What is being masculine? What is being feminine? And my roommate has a friend who I would say in certain aspects presents as very masculine, the way he dresses, whatever. But then like when you get to know him, he's very feminine, like he expresses his feminine energy and he's just like, yes, queen, whatever. And like just living his best life. And then, he's the kind of guy who also has like made a canoe by hand and like woodworked a full like tree table with ironwork and solder and like the whole 9 yards, and like is very like physical with his hands and like building and like very like hashtag masculine things. But then you talk to him and you meet him and you're like, oh, this does not compute. And it's because it's like he's just living his authentic life of like, this is just part of me. I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy being all, yes, queen, and going to the parties. Like you can be the queeniest of queens that you want to be, and you can still do the most masculine things and play football and play rugby and be a man's man and build workshop stuff. And there's no right or wrong way to express that and to be that. And I think that that's what a lot more people are coming to terms with, and just kind of getting to that point of like, there is no right or wrong way to be gay.
Mhm.
You are a gay person if you identify as gay, and your life is valid however you choose to live it. There is
Mhm.
no box you need to fit into. And I think I keep bringing this back to pride, but I think that a lot of the reasons people do push away from pride is because they feel like they don't fit into those boxes. Like, I don't fit into that box. But
Mhm.
I challenge you, if you're listening to this, and I present to you the idea of, don't try and fit into the box. Just be your own self and show up, whether that's showing up to the party or
Mhm.
wherever else. But that takes a lot of guts to show up and be that person who's different or weird, because we've already been those people as gay men. We already know what it's like to be different and weird. We've already broken that box.
Mhm.
So just stand in it and be like, yep, I'm not going to go to the pride parade, but I am going to go to the gay family picnic,
Mhm.
or I am going to go to my friend's house and we're going to have our own little party with just us. And that's totally fine. And maybe we'll have the pride parade on the TV, or not even at all. We're going to go camping and completely ignore it. And we're going to, go up to the boonies and build our own camping tent and build our own thing. Like, just be it,
Mhm.
just be it and enjoy being it. You don't need to push others away and to be negative about things that don't resonate with you. Embrace who you are and what you want more than pushing the other things away. When you do that more, when you focus on that, that's when you're living out of judgment and living in authenticity.
Mhm.
Good, solid point.
Mhm.
I will say though,
Mhm.
that judgment, also comes from within, even within the LGBT, even within just the singularly gay community. I on my Instagram will post, people would like to, we like to paint each other with this sort of this generalized brush, kind of like, as you were saying, kind of like, just because I'm out on the scene, that means I'm this kind of gay, without people ever actually having to get to know me. But at any rate, people will see what they want to see on Instagram, on social media. And so, I one day posted a picture of me in drag. My friend has an amazing drag party once a year. It's the best. Hopefully it comes back next year. And, so once a year, I get up all up in drag. I do the makeup, the wig, the whole thing, the heels, shaved, everything done. And the amount of, I'm not going to say hate, but the amount of, I guess, ridicule I got from gay men, out gay men, about the fact that I got a put into drag, because they see me as this gym going, masculine, whatever that means, guy who, like, has muscles and a beard and all these things. And I'm like, bitch, no. Like, I mean, I don't love the heels, but it's fun to wear the heels and to get up in the makeup and to do that thing. So there is still that judgment even within us. And that's why I think, that podcast that I did with Tim, one of the biggest takeaways for me was that we are so much more powerful as a united front, regardless of how people choose to marginalize you. We are so much more powerful united than we are. Like, we have more in common than we do than we don't, right? So even if one person is trans and one person is a gay cis male, we can still learn to find the commonalities within what it's like to be marginalized. And I think part of the issue is that we're getting this for maybe for the white cis males. I'm speaking for myself here. Um, equality and diversity inclusion for some of us, but we kind of forget about the rest of the people. And I think it's important that we remember to bring them along with us.
Mm-hmm. I just want to share with what you just said about the drag thing. For those who are listening only, this is me in drag. Can you guys see that?
Kind of.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
You
Look
look
at
like
those
Cruella de Vil.
legs.
I know the legs. I got super long legs. So yeah, for those who are
That's
just
awesome.
listening, I just shared. I did drag once for charity. I was in the Vancouver Men's Course, and they do singing can be a drag, singing is a drag, singing can be a drag as a charity event every year. And it's just whoever wants to volunteer, you do it. Everybody sings live. It's a full 3-hour presentation. There's shots and drinks. The audience gets wasted. You sing live. It's amazing. And I just like got to embrace that feminine side of me and have fun and just played with it and enjoyed. But it's true, those people come out and they're like, oh my God, you did that. And it's just like, again, it goes back to what I was saying, that judgment coming from inside, that fear coming from inside. It's like, if you didn't have that, it wouldn't be poking you. So, you know,
Yeah.
I love that. Live the best life, live your best life.
Yeah. Yeah, we're, as gay men, we are given so many opportunities to be triggered by one another, and triggers project us into our most beautiful, amazing selves. And we got to use those triggers. If we deny them and we don't expose ourselves to people and we stay the lone wolf, we never grow. And that's been so much of my experience in a lot of my life. And now it's like, you know, when somebody's embracing their feminine nature, it doesn't trigger me, because I've integrated aspects of my feminine nature that I was once rejecting. And I think that's shame. Everything we're talking about is shame. It's shame at its finest. We internalize these messages around social conditioning that it's not okay to be feminine, and then we go around and we hurl judgments at people that are the things that we are trying to avoid being. And I think that's a game changer when you stop doing that and stop pointing your finger outwards and you start pointing your finger inwards and say, okay, what is it about myself that I hate? What is it about myself that I'm not accepting? And do the work, do your shadow work. And it's going to make being a gay man a whole hell of a lot funner once you integrate your shadows. And I think, it's not easy work though. This is why we do what we do. This is why we started the Brotherhood. This is why we have the membership community, because we want to offer a space for people to do this deep inner healing that without guidance, it's really challenging. And I think, you know, the three of us have like a recipe that we've finally crafted after years of doing this work. And that's, you know, why we've created the space to be able to offer people our recipe that's worked for us to get us to a place where we can say that being gay is definitely an asset. And that's by no means saying that I've integrated all my shadows. Like there's still some stuff there that I'm working through. But yeah, I definitely know what I need to work on, and I've stopped projecting onto people. And I've learned to take responsibility for my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I fully feel those vibes, Matt. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like it's so much, it's been so many years, pardon me, of like struggling and learning all of this, that to be able to now teach it is like a dream come true. But like by no means are we perfect. So anybody out there listening, and it's just like these guys are great. Like I am fully still like, I got my business, I got my bags of shit, like I'm still slowly unpacking it, being like, oh, here's another thing to look at, oh, here's another thing. And just even being part of this community and this brotherhood has been huge leaps and bounds. Like Matt and I have, you know, for those listening, Matt and I have rubbed up against each other and knocked heads a couple of times, and it's just because we love each other and we're trusting each other to continue to grow through that. There's been times where like we could have cut and pieced out and be like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. But like Matt holds me accountable to who I am and lets me see and holds me and goes, okay, this is some shit. Are you going to look at it? I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm just showing you. And I have to then go, this is shit I've been running away from for a really long time. Do I want to look at this? And I'm like, I trust Matt. I love Matt. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see what I need to work on the inside. But that takes community. And that's why I think your growth, the biggest growth, happens in community. It's why we have the Gay Men's Brotherhood. It's why we provide that community for people to, you know, slowly, that's like your first step in. And then the Gay Men Going Deeper membership is kind of like the next step in, where you want to go a little bit deeper and a little bit further. But you need to have that community to be able to see those things, because you can only go so far alone. And that's what I've realized big time in this past year of working with you guys, is that like, holy shit, I thought I did a lot of work, and now I've done even more work, and it's just going to keep growing. But it's so true. Even Brene Brown stands up and goes, I am by no means perfect. She is still just as practicing as anybody else. And I think that that's the name of the game, is it's a practice. It's an everyday dedication practice where you continuously focus more on love and compassion and empathy than you do on judgment and blame.
Yeah, well said.
Very well said. I have a question for you guys. At what age, if you remember, do you recall identifying and using the word gay to describe yourself, and I'll take a page out of RuPaul's Drag Race, what would you tell that version of yourself now? If you could go back and give him one nugget of wisdom, what would you tell him? And what age? And I'm curious to know what age that was for you.
Okay, well, I know, so I'll go. I knew from the womb. I basically came out gay. I was a C-section baby. I didn't even want to touch a vagina. But yeah, I had the blessing of older siblings, and my brother's 5 years older, my sister's 10 years older, and my sister, I believe, had a gay friend when she was 16, so I was like 6. But since I can remember my consciousness, remember my conscious thoughts, I knew I was more interested in the boys than the girls and playing with the boys. And I knew that it wasn't the same of just being friends. Like I knew, and then like maybe around 4, 5, 6 is when I figured out what gay was, because like my older siblings explained it. And so I was like, oh, that's me, but I'm not going to tell you. And then my sister even used to ask me when I was younger, when I was like, I remember being like 5 or 6, where she was walking, she's like, Calan, are you gay? And I was like, no. And I was like, yes. But I did push it down and suppress it, because even though that told me that I could be safe, but I still knew I still was smart enough. I knew the world as a whole was not safe in that regard. So I knew that I'm like, I'm going to keep this locked down until I feel fully safe. And so when I first admitted it to myself, like in the mirror looking at myself, I think I was about 14, maybe 13 or 14, and I was in middle school. But then I really pushed against it. Once I admitted it, I pushed even harder. I was like, I'm going to put up even more photos of girls. I'm going to put even, and it's just like in my locker. And like, I was going to work real hard to like force it. And even friends in high school, they would look at me and like, I remember Lisa, she was my locker buddy one year and then right next to me the next year. And like, we've been friends for years and years and years. And she's like, you're working real hard. Like, you have a lot of photos of girls, and like they could see it, but I wasn't ready to admit it. But then in high school, I think I really came to terms with it, but I still fought it. But I was like, okay, after high school. And then once I finished high school, when I turned 19, we went to my friend's birthday at a club, and it was me, my best friend at the time, my 2 best friends at the time, and then it was one of my best friends' friend that it was his 19th birthday. We went to Celebrities in Vancouver, and it was the gay club. And so me and my own best friend were like, okay, we were upstairs drunk, and I was like, I think I might be bi. She's like, oh my God, me too. And we like high-fived over it. And then from there, it was kind of like a trickle-on effect. So 19, and then I told my family and friends and everybody. By the time I was 20, I was like fully out. And then what would I tell myself?
Yeah, what's the nugget of wisdom you would tell yourself at that age, that 19-year-old self?
I don't know if it would be my 19. I think I would tell my younger self that you're more capable and stronger than you think you are, and to give yourself more credit. Yeah.
I totally got lost in Calan's story, and now I forget what the question was.
The question was, at what age do you recall identifying as gay, like using the words gay to describe yourself?
Okay.
And what wisdom would you, if you could go back, would you give yourself at that age?
Wow, that's a big question. So are you meaning like, when did I apply that word to myself in like a way, like I identify as that?
Yeah, like I am gay.
Whether I rejected it or not, or whether there was, whether I rejected it or not. Okay, yeah, so it would have been young. So I realized I was gay when I was probably 5. And then I just went into hiding, basically, from that point forward, hiding everything. I don't even know how to answer this. I think I did answer it in the coming out story episode. So I won't go into too much detail about it. But the second part of the question was, what would I say to myself at that age?
Yeah.
Man. Younger Matt. What did he need to hear? Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I think I've just, even like till this day, like I just bear it and grin it. Like I've had that mentality my whole life. Like I don't slow down and like stop and think about like, oh, like what does little Matt need? Or what is, like I've never really, and yeah, maybe I just had like an epiphany here. Like, yeah, it would probably be something along the lines of what Calan shared. Like, don't be so hard on yourself, because I think that's been my MO my whole life, is just like punishing myself into being something that I'm not. So just surrender, just allow yourself to be who you are. And I think that's the message. I'm not even going to say that to my 5-year-old self. I'm going to say that to myself now. That's what I still need to hear to this day. Just settle into who you are. Allow yourself to be all the funky, freaky shit that you think about yourself, and just embrace it. And a little birdie just came on my 2 little birdies. Oh my God. That's so amazing. Birds are my grandpa. That's so cute. One just literally flew on my balcony. So yeah, don't be so hard on yourself. What about you?
Okay, you guys are way younger than me. I mean, I think I just rejected that word. I don't know if I rejected it or I just didn't know it. Like it wasn't in my vernacular. But it wasn't until I would say grade 10 when I had a girlfriend, like a high school girlfriend. And I realized, like the rubber has hit the road. Things need to happen. And I do not want to do what all the other boys are doing and talking about. So I think that was the first time that I used the word, even though I knew that I liked boys younger. I don't think I actually wanted to use the word gay, or I just pushed it away as far as I could. Because I justified it in my mind. It's like, oh, until I do something, then it doesn't count. They're just thoughts, whatever. Even though I was jerking off like 5 times a day thinking of men.
Using the Sears catalog.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Like,
love that.
But I think the advice that I would give myself, because I think for me that what comes forth is how alone I felt. I didn't know anybody. I had no pop culture references. I had no one in my family. I was just taught the very traditional Italian Catholic way to live, and that, I think what I would love to tell myself is like, girl, it gets way better. Like, just stick with it. I would say to come out sooner than later, because it wasn't until I came out, that's when the people, like, I had to be the first one almost to come out to see that there are other people like me. And I remember there was this one kid in my high school who knew I was gay, and he knew, and I did not. Like, I knew he knew. And I there was that internalized homophobia. So I rejected him because, like we were saying, I rejected that part of myself. And, I remember like wanting to do sleepovers with him. Like there was this shadowy part of me that wanted to spend time with him, but there was no way that in public, in like the hallways of the school, that I would actually, say that out loud and be like, oh, I really like this guy. We hang out, like, and him and I have since talked. So we've talked about that moment. But yeah, I would say that there are a lot of people who are like me. I wish I knew that. I just wish I knew there was so many of us out there.
I love that. I love all this. How much longer do we have?
I think we're almost at time.
We're done, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a great way to end today's podcast. I hope everybody listening has enjoyed. If you have thoroughly enjoyed, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That's where you're watching. If you're listening to this in a podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. Give us a rating on Apple. Give us whatever you think we deserve, and leave us a comment. We love seeing the comments, and not enough people are leaving them. So share those comments, because we want to be able to read them. Also, make sure to join the membership waitlist if that is something that you're interested in. The Gay Men Going Deeper membership waitlist. It is in the links below, and it's also in the show notes of this episode. And join the Gay Men's Brotherhood on Facebook, private Facebook group, and come and hang out and chill out with us because we love meeting new people. And share us around. If you love what you hear and you're like, dude, you gotta listen to this, send it to your friends. Be like, you need to get in on this because, you know, sharing is caring. And I think that's it. Anything else, boss?
I just wanted to say happy Pride to everyone out there.
Yes,
Have a
happy
good one.
Pride. All right, happy Pride, everybody. Peace, love, rainbows. Bye.